What's up guys, MTG Matt for you. Today we're going to be showcasing a jump deck featuring one of the new mythics from Dominaria United, Soul of Windgrace. This deck had a about 65% win rate, climbing from gold all the way to platinum. It's super fun to play, it's right away probably one of my new favorite decks. So be sure to check out the games and make sure to stay till the end for the deck tag. Otherwise you can also just skip to the deck tag. You find all the chapters in the description. Hope you guys enjoy the games and I see you guys soon.
stand with me. You're my enemy. My goons will make quick work of you. Defy me, and you'll lose everything. Next time, I'll cut you down. Go ahead. Plead for mercy.
What's up guys, it's MTG Matthew. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay. So let's dive into this deck and see what it's all about. So this is a Junt deck, a Soul of Windgrace Junt deck. And Soul of Windgrace is a new card from Dominaria United, and ever since it got spoiled I got super hyped because this is exactly the kind of card that I just love in Magic, which is cards that promote deck building for land-centric or like land-synergistic types of decks. So Soul of Winrate is a 4-mana 5/4 legendary cat avatar. And it says whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may put a land card from a graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. Then for 1 green, you can discard a land card and gain 3 life. For 1 and red, you can discard a land card and draw a card. And for 2 and a black, you can discard a land card and give Soul of Windgrace indestructible on the end of turn and tap it. So this card is just, you know, it's just a really good value card, and by itself it can protect itself. It can cycle land cards from your hand that you don't need in order to dig deeper into the deck, and occasionally it can also gain you some life against, for example, aggro matchups. Furthermore, with the enter the battlefield effect and the attack trigger, you can, those lands that you cycle, you can put back onto the battlefield, so it continuously ramps you. And also, a 4-mana 5/4 is a really good stat line, right? Especially in a format where there is a lightning strike, it's really nice to have a 4 toughness stat line to be protected against lightning strike. So Soul of Windgrace is one of our main win conditions and one of our main engines in the deck. All in all, this deck is a mid-range deck that tries to answer the early threats that our opponent has, and then we start playing our own threats starting from turn 3 on, and we just have a lot of value, very efficient removal in the deck that lets us win the game. So let's go through the cards one by one and see what it's all about. To answer early threats, we got 4 copies of Cut Down, which is also a new card from Dominaria United. 1 black instant, destroy target creature with total power and toughness 5 or less. This can pretty much destroy any creature for mana value 1 or 2. Unless, for example, you are facing mono red or Boros aggro, the player Kumano faces Kakas on turn 1, and then on turn 2 they play a creature with a 1 counter on it. Then it's less likely that you can answer that creature because total power and toughness will be probably more than 5. But all in all, super efficient and can basically answer any early threat from your opponent. It's just 1 mana. Then we got 3 copies of Infernal Grasp, just a good old MVP card. 2 mana, destroy target creature you lose to life. Just answers anything. It's fantastic. And then we run a single copy of Cathartic Pyre. So Cut Down and Infernal Grasp are our main ways to answer early threats, early creatures. And we run 1 copy of Cathartic Pyre for 2 reasons. First of all, it's a damage-based removal spell for creatures and planeswalkers, which is important because we have a lot of planeswalkers in the format, especially with the new Liliana, and it's just really nice to have a 2-mana answer for that. So when your opponent plays Liliana and -2 her to have you sacrifice a creature, she's on 1 loyalty, and Cathartic Pyre can immediately kill her, which is really good value. But then also this has a second mode that lets you discard 2 cards and then draw that many cards, which lets you put land cards from your hand into the graveyard, which then Soul of Windgrace can return to the battlefield, and you also dig deeper into the deck. So this is a very flexible card, but we only run a 1-off because we value the Grasp as a straight up removal spell against creatures, just more in the 2-drop slot. Then from turn 3 on, we want to try to start playing threats or developing our board. And the main way we do this is 4 copies of Greater Trespasser, which is still an absolute powerhouse in this new standard format for several reasons. First of all, a 3-mana 3/3 can already block some threats from your aggro opponents without trading, so it's just a decent stat line. Then if you kill one of your opponent's creatures on turn 1 or 2 with Cut Down and Grasp, Trespasser can come down turn 3 and exile the creature from your opponent's graveyard and immediately drain him for 1 life, and you gain 1 life, which is important for staying alive. Then it also protects itself very, very well with the ward effect to discard a card, which makes it also especially great also against control decks. And then lastly, in this form it's also nice to have exile or like graveyard hate. Because people still play stuff like, you know, Tenacious Underdog, but there are also some reanimation decks out there that want to reanimate, for example, a Titan of Industry, and Graveyard Trespasser makes sure that your opponent won't be able to do that because he exiled this graveyard. So this is a really big component of the deck in a major win condition. Then on turn 3, what we can also do is play Kick Sprouting Goblin, which I think is a phenomenal card. So Sprouting Goblin is a 2-mana 2/2 Goblin Druid with Kicker for green. It says when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, search your library for a land card with a basic land type, reveal it, put it to your hand and shuffle. And we can pay red, tap it, sacrifice a land to draw a card. So first of all, when we kick this, we can search up any land with a basic land type, and we land 4 copies of Ziator's Proving Ground, which we can obviously search up to fix our whole mana base for the whole deck. But also what we can do is search up a Proving Ground later in the game if we don't need more lands on the battlefield, and then cycle away the Proving Ground to basically have more card draw. So that's one major benefit of Sprouting Goblin. But then also we have 1 copy of Sparrow's Headquarters, which we can also search up. And what Sparrow's Headquarters does is give us all 5 basic land types with it on the battlefield. And that's beneficial for the 2 copies we run of Shadow Prophecy, which is also a new card from Dominaria United, 2 and a black instant, and has Domain. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. Put up to 2 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard, you lose 2 life. So if you have all 5 basic land types, this is a phenomenal card draw card. At instant speed for just 3 mana. Look at the top 5 cards, you pick 2 of them, put them into your hand, you lose 2 life, and the rest goes into your graveyard. And the great thing is, it's very likely that land is going into your graveyard, which can then be reanimated with Soul of Windgrace. So there's also some synergy, but you just get a lot of card selection, and it's just a very efficient card draw spell. It's really, really cool. So that's the one benefit Sprouting Goblin has. Sprouting Goblin is just a way early on to make sure we hit all land drops. It can fix our mana and enable the domain. But then also later in the game we can use the activated ability. Sacrifice a land, draw a card, and again, the land that we sacrifice can be reanimated with Soul of Windgrace. So 3 copies of Goblin. I really like this card, it's so cool and it works really well in this deck. Then at the 3-drop slot, another play we can make for 3 mana, we can play one of our 4 copies of Riveteer's Charm. And at 3 mana we will most likely use it as a removal spell, because it has the sacrifice effect. Target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker they control with the highest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Very good against planeswalkers, right? On turn 3 your opponent plays a Liliana. You can answer it with Riveteer's Charm. It's also really good at answering your opponent's Graveyard Trespasser, because you can this way circumvent the ward effect of Trespasser. But then also Riveteer's Charm acts as card draw, as you can exile top 3 cards of your library and play them until your next end step. And very occasionally you can also exile your opponent's graveyard, which, you know, against certain decks, reanimation strategies or like arcane bombardment strategies can really blow your opponent out, right? So 4 copies of Riveteer's Charm, very, very useful. Then on turn 4 we want to play Soul of Windgrace, which oftentimes if you play it on turn 4, or most of the times, there won't be a land in your graveyard or in your opponent's graveyard to grab. But it's fine, because we got 4 copies of this in the deck. It's a decently statted body, so it's a threat on the board. It can block some aggression from aggro decks. It can just act as a blocker. And if your opponent doesn't answer it, and you untap with a land in your hand, you can give it indestructible, and it just becomes this engine, right, that enables your whole game plan. Then another new card that we have, and which I consider to be in a 4-drop slot, is 3 copies of Terra Sunder. 2-mana instant in green, which says exile target artifact or enchantment. If the spell was kicked, exile target non-land permanent instead. So you can kick it for 1 in the black, which it then costs 4 mana. And for 4 mana, at instant speed, we can exile any non-land permanent, which is phenomenal against planeswalkers or against creatures. But also, we live in a format where there are a lot of enchantments especially. So from time to time, we'll just cast this for 2 mana and exile a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, or you exile a Wedding Invitation, or you exile a Reckoner Bankbust, right? So really good card, really good in this new standard format. Finally, to wrap things up, we run 1 copy of the Meathook Massacre to have a board-wide option in deck, and then just also stays on the battlefield and gives us continuous value. And we have 4 copies on the Invoke Despair in the 5-drop slot. That represents another win condition for this deck, and also card draw. And that's the deck. I had so much fun playing this. This is straight away, immediately, one of my new favorite decks of the new standard format, without even having tried like 90% of the new stuff that's out there. Hope you guys enjoy playing this as well, and I see you guys soon.